Hey guys, in this video I'm going to go over my favorite weapons to use with the Digiclone. In order to help you make the best decision you can about the weapon you give your Digiclone, let's quickly go over the pros and cons of the clone's AI. Pros. The clone has perfect aim, and its aim is only held back by weapons that have slow projectile speeds or weapons with low accuracy. Boom Enhance allows the clone to reload extremely fast, allowing you to take advantage of weapons that have large reload times or weapons that need to reload often. The clone has unlimited ammo, allowing you to use weapons that wouldn't typically be viable for mobbing because of ammo consumption. The clone can crit, and generally seems to aim for opponents' crit spots, though it may not hit them consistently. The clone can proc Brain Freeze. Take advantage of this by giving it plenty of multiple projectile weapons, and it will be able to reset itself with Calm Cool collected. The clone also gets your shields and all the benefits that may come with it, such as amp damage and fire rate bonuses. Cons. The clone will burst fire full auto weapons, reducing overall DPS. The clone often overcompensates with weapons that have slow projectile speed. If an enemy takes a small dash and it happens to shoot at the same time, it might shoot at a right angle to the enemy. The clone doesn't compensate for drop, making weapons like the crossbow useless. The clone doesn't have the longest range, and its field of view can be iffy, with it simply not reacting to enemies that are above it sometimes. Using these positives and negatives, we can find weapons that take most advantage of the pros that the Digiclone offers, while also minimizing its cons. The Lyuda will be the first weapon on this list. The Lyuda is powerful in the clone because it takes advantage of the clone's aim, and the multiple projectiles help it to take advantage of Brain Freeze. I have an Annex version, which fires 2 projectiles per shot, meaning that the shot splits into 6 shots at a distance. The only thing holding it back from being higher on this list is the firing pattern of the clone. He sometimes can go a few seconds without shooting a bullet between bursts, and sometimes will let off a few bursts, then wait a few seconds before shooting just once and reloading. The Lyuda can also hold its own against bosses, doing decent damage to Tron, though you'll need to position the clone to hit his crit spot. The Lyuda isn't doing as much damage as some other weapons later on this list, but it'll certainly help you out against Tron if it's the best thing you've got. The Trevenator is the best weapon on this list for putting status effects on enemies. As you can see, the clone is constantly resetting itself with this cryo version, while also putting out a solid amount of damage. The Trevenator also seems to suffer the least from the clone's strange firing patterns, since it fires in bursts instead of full auto. For a shotgun, it's even good at range. The only real drawback to using it with the clone is that you can't switch elements, so you're going to need to find multiple Trevenators if you plan on switching elements on the clone.
Shoot him!
Unfortunately for me though, this is the only Trevenator I have, and using cryo on Tron doesn't really seem to be working. But when I switch to electricity, it starts doing some solid damage, so I imagine it would on the clone as well. Just keep that in mind when you're farming for them. If it weren't for the clone's AI, which only aims straight at enemies, the lump would probably be the best mobbing weapon on this list. Either way, it's pretty solid against mobs, with the clone often getting lucky and getting multiple kills in one shot. Since I seem to be the only person on the planet who can't find these things consistently, I don't have a double penetrating version, but I imagine if you did it would be way better. While the lump can hold its own against mobs, it's by far the worst weapon on this list for bosses. Sure, I'm not matching elements, and I don't have a double penetrating version, but look how little damage we're doing. I think even with everything going for this gun, it still wouldn't be the best choice for bosses. What makes the Hive so great is that it pretty much takes the AI of the clone completely out of the picture and just turns him into a dispenser of beehives. The only thing that matters with the Hive are reload speed and fire rate, and the bees just take care of the rest. Get yourself a radiation version and you'll be cutting through mobs like it's nothing. The Hive holds its own against bosses too, though you have to wait a bit for the Hives to start firing. Once they do, they'll deal solid, continuous damage to whatever boss you're fighting. The biggest disadvantage of the Hive is its lack of elements, with only radiation and corrosion. Radiation is probably your best bet, because it's the more versatile element. Yeah, if you've seen any of the other videos on my channel, you probably know how much I love this thing. The Scourge does it all. It has high damage, no wind-up time like the Hive, plenty of projectiles that actually proc brain freeze more than you'd think, comes in every element, and it reloads after every shot, which means no long awkward pauses for the clone. And he'll just keep pumping out rockets till nothing on screen is alive. The only negative I'd give the Scourge is that its slow projectiles sometimes leave the clone shooting the rocket in a completely separate direction. But even then, the homing rockets usually make up the difference. And against bosses, it's even better. As you can see, we're destroying Tron. This gun puts every other gun on this list to shame with its ability to kill bosses. The only thing you need to worry about is positioning your clone far from the boss, and in a place where it can hit its crit spot, and the game will basically play itself for you.
Don't worry, you still look at me.
I tried this run again with just one positive multiplier, and as you can see, the clone almost takes out Tron in one activation, and probably would have if it didn't get distracted by other enemies. If you can find it, which admittedly can be a pain, the Scourge is by far the best option for the Digiclone for taking out bosses and mobs. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions or know of any other weapons that the clone works well with, let me know in the comments. Later.